Hello, I'm Papia. In this problem, we have to sketch the graph of a function. And the function is y equals 2 cosine of pi x over 3. And we have to sketch the graph. Now, you know that if we make a table first, figure out some key points on the graph, and join those points, we will know what the graph looks like. So we'll just do that. But also note that this is a trigonometric function. So you can figure out certain information about the graph just from the expression itself, right? So remember that a trig function that looks like y equals, say, a cosine of bx, then we can figure out what the amplitude is, what the period is. Okay, so why don't we just have an idea about the amplitude and the period first. So what is amplitude of this function? Well, you know that it will be absolute value of a, and here a is just 2, absolute 2 is 2, so amplitude will be 2 when you sketch the graph. And what is period? Well, that is 2 pi over absolute b, and b is right here, right? bx, so b is pi over 3. So this will be 2 pi over, well, absolute pi over 3 is just pi over 3. And then when you simplify it, so the pi cancels, you bring the 3 on the numerator, and it'll be 6. So you know that this is a trigonometric function, and therefore it'll have a cycle that will repeat itself, right? So from this information, you can say since the period is 6, that means the length of one cycle will be 6 units, and then it will repeat itself. As soon as we figure out what the cycle looks like, we will know what the entire graph will look like. Also, the amplitude is 2, that tells you that the max and the min of the function will be between -2 and +2, right? So we have this information here, that's good, but then let's figure out some key points on the graph itself. Okay, so let's see, choose the x values in such a way that you can get some values on the graph so that you know exactly where the graph will cross x-axis, and you know exactly when the function will have the max and the min values. So those are going to be the key points. Okay, so look at the expression. Let's just start with x equals 0, because you can see right away it will give us cosine of 0, and we know the value of cosine 0. So let's start there. What happens when x is 0? Well, y is 2 cosine of 0. Now here you need to remember those values of cosine, you know, at 0, at pi over 2, pi, and so on. So do you remember what is cosine of 0? It's 1, so this is 2. All right, so we know, think about it, when you graph it, at x equals 0, you start at y equals 2. So the graph is going to come down from that point, and then it will cross x-axis at some place. So let's figure out where will it cross x-axis. Okay, what happens? When it will cross x-axis, we will have to have y equals 0, right? So the cosine should be 0. So let's just quickly think about it. Let's go backward. Let's figure out the x value knowing that y will be 0. Okay, so when do we know cosine of pi x over 3 will be 0? Okay, let's think, what is the first value where cosine is 0? Do you remember? It's pi over 2, right? So cosine of pi over 2 is 0. So let's solve for x, right? When is pi x over 3 equals to pi over 2? Cancel out pi, just solve for x. X is, take the 3 on the other side, x is 3 over 2. So we're going backwards. So if you plug in 3 over 2 for x, and that is 1.5, you plug in 3 over 2, 3 will cancel. This is cosine of pi over 2. And we know cosine of pi over 2 is 0, so this will be 0. So you can figure out key points this way, right? Okay, so let's see, what is the next value? What happens if you plug in x equals 3? Then 3 cancels, and you will get 2 cosine of pi. And what is cosine of pi? It's -1, so this will be -2. So we got the value of x when you will have the minimum y. Okay, continue. So let's see, what will the next value be? So we have -2 now. The graph will start going upward again, and it will cross x-axis again. So what will be the next value where the graph will cross the x-axis? First one was 1.5. Next one will be, you got it, 4.5 or 9 over 2. Okay, so plug it in and you get 2 cosine of, so 9 over 2, that will be 3 pi over 2. That's the next value where cosine is 0, right? So you get 0 again. Okay, let's plug in. Next we have 6. So when you plug in 6, you get 2 cosine of 2 pi. Just like cosine of 0 is 1, cosine of 2 pi is also 1. So this is 2 again. So do you see what happened? We started at 2 and we ended at 2. So that should give us a cycle. And look at the x value. It will be between 0 and 6. We know that the period is 6. So it makes sense, right? This is going to be one cycle. And then you can go to the negative side as well. So say if you plug in -1.5, okay, then you will get 2 cosine of -pi over 2. But that's same as cosine of pi over 2 is 0. And so you will get 0 here. We have enough points right now to be able to graph this function. So let's start plotting these points. Okay, let's start with the first one. X equals 0, y equals 2. So let me mark the x-axis and the y-axis quickly. All right. So one more time, 0, 2. So at 0, the point is 2. Then we go to 1.5. So 1.5, say somewhere here. That's where the graph will pass through x-axis. Then at 3, we'll have -2. Okay. 4.5 is 0 again. At 6, we will get 2. And as you know, it will keep on going. On the negative side, we got -1.5 will give you 0. All right. So let us join these dots. You know, it's a cosine function. It will be nice function. It will be continuous and so on. So it starts at 2 on the right-hand side. And it passes through x-axis at 1.5, then it goes to its minimum value, -2 at 3, then keeps on going up, 4.5 is 0, and then at 6, it goes to its maximum value again. You can see that this completes one cycle. So the graph will just repeat this on the right side and on the left side. You can just copy and paste. So, you know, it will keep on going this way. On this side, same story. It will pass at -1.5 and keep on going this way. Okay, so this is a rough sketch of this function 2 cosine of pi x over 3. Now, to check whether we have done it correctly or not, let's use a graphing utility. and graph the function. So pick up any graphing utility that you have and then write down the function y equals 2 cosine of pi times x divided by 3, and then you graph it and you see looks very similar to what we have drawn. To see better, let's go to the window and change the y values, say from -3 to +3, and then graph it again. And you can see from the graph itself, right, that it passes through 2 and the minimum value is -2. And if you notice the x values, you will see that the graph is passing on crossing the x-axis between 1 and 2, that's 1.5, between 4 and 5, and so on. So we have found the correct sketch of the graph from the given expression. Thank you.